Hello, my name is Magnus Krona and I'm a senior developer at Weavy. In this video, I'm going to show you how easy it is to add the Weavy drop-in UI to a new or existing React application. All the code for this demo is available at github.com/Weavy. You also have this article that you can see in front of you, Getting Started with React and Weavy. It's available on our blog, and that contains all the details. If you want to follow along or test this demo out, you should make sure you have the React development environment up and running. You can go to reactjs.org and follow the tutorial how to set up the React environment. You also need a Weavy instance. So you can either set up a local Weavy instance that you can get from our GitHub site, or you can use a demo instance which is available at showcase.weavycloud.com. So let's get right to it. Here I have Visual Studio Code, and I have created a new React application using the npx create React app, which gives you a basic starter template for creating a React application. The first thing we want to do is to add the Weavy script. So the easiest way to do this is to add it to the index.html file. So here we can see that we have added a script tag which points to our Weavy.js file, and you can also see that it points to showcase.weavycloud.com, which was or is our demo instance, and you can use this instance as well. We also have a script tag referencing jQuery, which is a dependency for Weavy. So now that we have added the script tag, let's start by showing what we have here. This is I have created a folder called Weavy where we have added all the necessary stuff that we need. We have a CSS file, we have a couple of components and a context. So what we want to do is we want to reuse the Weavy client instance here when we create new Weavy apps. We don't want to create a new Weavy instance for each app we create. So for that we are using the React context, a React context. So in here you can see that the only thing we do here is create and return a new context. And then we have Weavy.js, which represents the instance of Weavy. As you can see in the constructor, we set an initial state here, and we are using a Weavy variable here and creating a new Weavy. We pass in some options, and the important one here is the JWT. This is how we authenticate. This is how we handle the single sign-on between your application and Weavy. So the JWT is a token that contains user claims such as username, email, name, and so on. It also contains the Weavy authentication client ID, and the token is signed with the Weavy authentication client secret. We also set init to false because we do not want to initialize the Weavy component when we just yet, but when the component mounts, we call this .state.weavy.init. And of course, when the component unmounts, we want to clean up after ourselves, so we call this state.weavy.destroy. And the render method returns a provider, context provider, from the Weavy context, and the value is set to the current state. So we can get access to the Weavy instance in other places in our React application. And we just pass along the children. So now we have a global instance that we can use. Next up is the Weavy app. This component here represents the actual component, the actual app that we want to add to somewhere in your React application. If we take a look down here when the component mounts, first thing we do is we get a reference to the current Weavy instance. We have that on this.context.weavy. And then we call create Weavy app. The create Weavy app, this is responsible for creating the actual app. Before we can create the app, we have to create a space. So you can see the space as a container or a wrapper for one or more apps. A space is needed to create apps. And both the app and the space has a key property. It's a unique key that identifies the space or app. So when the Weavy instance is trying to get the specific space or app, it will either return it, or if it doesn't exist, it will first create it. You can also give the space a name. So when we have the space, we can create the app. We can set the type, and the type of app can be either, for example, Posts app or Files app or Messenger and so on. The different types of apps you can choose from is available at our docs site, docs.weavy.com. You can of course set a name for the app, and the container property is where on your page you want to insert the app. So in this case, we do want to add it to the current element that we are render, and we take a look down here in the render method. We can see that we return a div element, and this is where the app will be inserted. We also have a Weavy container class name. So if we take a look here in the Weavy CSS, we have a Weavy container class which only sets the height to the full viewport height at the moment. But back to the Weavy app, we can see here that we also want to make sure that if the properties change on the component, either the space key or the app key, we need to re-render the app. So here in the should component update, we make sure to return true or false if the app or space have changed. And if it did change, we can see here component did update, we remove the app and recreate it with the new properties. So let's use this component. So if we go to the app here, we can see that first of all, we are wrapping everything with our Weavy context. And in here, we are adding a Weavy app. We have set some properties for the space, and at the moment we are using a Files app. We want to display a Files app. And the JWT here, we point this to a function that returns a JWT, and in a real app, of course, this would generate a new JWT on the server and return it. In this case, I'm using a predefined long-lived token that is available to use if you use the showcase.weavycloud.com. So it's a predefined token, and this is only for your convenience to get up and running quickly here with the demo, and you don't have to think too much about the authentication bit. So let's run this and see what happens. I'll start, and let's see if the app shows up. And it does. We have our Files app here, with the folder and a note, and you can create new folders. Note, you can add documents from Microsoft Office and Google. You can upload files, local files, or from the cloud, and so on. So the last thing I would like to show you here is that the component is reusable. So I've just prepared some markup here, and we have another app here. You can see the app type here is posts. So let's see how this looks like. Let's make sure the site is updated, and as you can see here we have a Files app to the left and a Posts app to the right. And this was pretty much what I wanted to show you here today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you for watching.